Hello everyone, welcome to Defence Pulse with me Shivan Jonna. This is your 360-degree insight into the future of warfare. Let's first take a look at the latest developments. After significant delay and repeated requests, Ukraine has received a small batch of additional US-made Patriot interceptors. President Zelensky says Ukraine needs far more interceptor production to defend against Russian ballistic missiles. New satellite imagery shows China building additional installations on Yagong Island near Antelope Reef in the disputed Parcel Islands. Analysts believe the new facilities could potentially support an early warning radar capability. DRDO successfully tests a high-altitude combat parachute system in Ladakh. The system was tested at around 22,000 feet, with the jumpers landing safely at about 13,700 feet. This is significant for high-altitude insertion and operations in the Himalayas. Viewers, my first story on Defence Pulse is about the ultimate showdown in the skies. Two of the most powerful 4.5 generation fighter jets are now sharing the same Egyptian skies. China's heavyweight J-16 is flying against French-made Rafales in a rare combat drill simulating actual combat conditions. And this offers a glimpse of how the two machines will stack up against each other. For India, this is more than an air exercise. It is a window into the fighter China could eventually put into Pakistan's hands. Take a look at this report.
High above the Egyptian desert, the airspace is buzzing. Radar warning receivers scream after burners ignite, and two contrasting technologies of modern air combat push their limits to achieve total dominance. For the first time in history, the Shenyang J-16 meets the Dassault Rafale in direct operational exercises. There is no official scorecard, so who wins? The J-16 is the bigger machine. It evolved into a twin-engine, twin-seat multi-role fighter built to carry heavy weapons, conduct long-range strikes and perform electronic warfare missions. Its biggest advantage is size and payload. The Rafale took a different path. France developed it as a compact, highly agile, multi-role fighter capable of air-to-air combat, deep strikes, reconnaissance and nuclear missions. Its strength is not sheer size. Now, Rafale's real strength is its combination of sensors, electronic warfare, weapons and agility packed into one aircraft. When it comes to weaponry, while the Rafale is equipped with the deadly Meteor beyond visual range missile, J-16, China's heavy strike Eagle, carries a massive radar, long-range PL-15 missile. And then comes the price. A J-16 costs roughly $40 to $50 million, whereas a Rafale commands well over $100 million, although exact prices vary sharply with weapons, support and configuration. The Rafale, meanwhile, has built a powerful international customer base. France, Egypt, India, Qatar, Greece, Croatia, Indonesia and the UAE operate or have ordered the fighter. The J-16 remains overwhelmingly a Chinese-operated platform. That difference matters. Who wins in a long-range electronic duel? The J-16's brute radar power makes it lethal. Yet, in a dynamic combat arena, the Rafale's low radar cross-section, superior sensor fusion and meteor integration hand the edge to the French machine. For India, this aerial duel carries critical urgency. China is already deploying advanced fighters right across the northern frontier. Meanwhile, Pakistan operates Chinese J-10Cs and actively eyes fifth-generation J-35A stealth jets. To counter this two-front challenge, New Delhi is accelerating indigenous air power, backed by private sector initiatives, to co-develop engines for India's upcoming fifth-generation fighter jet. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And joining me on the show to discuss this further is Air Marshal Nagesh Kapoor. He was India's Vice Chief of the Air Staff during Operation Sindoor. Air Marshal Kapoor, absolute pleasure having you here with me on Defence Pulse. Thank you so much for making time. Starting right off, sir, in these combat drills, this is the first time that China is going to be pitting its fighter jets against the Rafale in actual combat conditions. What kind of information do air forces gain in such drills about a competing aircraft?
Thanks, Shivan. Thanks for having me. Firstly, a little bit of a correction. I was not really the Vice Chief of Air Staff during Op Sindoor. I was then the Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Southwestern Air Command, but that's besides. Specific to your question, the kind of information that opposing air forces could glean from such realistic combat exercises, as you call it, depends solely on how the exercise is constructed. So before the commencement of any such international exercise, there are detailed meetings that are held. We call them conferences here in India. We have, starting from the initial planning conference to the final planning conference, stages in which opposing team members get together and they decide on the nature of the engagement that each air force will have, the kind of exercises that will be flown, and allow me to tell you that most of the air forces, while we conduct such friendly foreign exercises with friendly foreign air forces, like to keep the key capabilities of any aircraft, and especially an aircraft of the generation of the Rafale, we play it very close to the chest. We do not lay out all cards in the open. And so specifically, the information that the other air force might glean would simply be how does the aircraft look in the air, how much does a rate of climb does it have, how does it compare with respect to, in this case, let's say the Chinese J-16s, how does it turn, how does it look on my radar. I want to see that aircraft on my radar, how does it look, does it present a picture. Even there, I would venture out to say that there are certain key capabilities that are either increased or, for example, in case you were to be doing this exercise, let us say against an aircraft which boasts of stealth capabilities, then just to make sure how much of, to mask that stealth capability, there would be measures that would be taken to increase the radar cross section so that when it is painted on the other guy's radar, it shows as a bigger blip. So there is a lot of this construct. There are very key capabilities that people will not want to share,
right,
such as the electronic warfare, etc.
Air Marshal Kapoor, any key areas of interest you feel that China would be trying to assess the Rafale on during the course of these simulated war drills?
Okay, so yes, definitely. So China has a near, I won't even want to call it near peer, because the greatest threat or the most potent fighter that China can, or Chinese Air Force can envisage in the near future that they might have to counter would be the Rafale, going by the fact that India has acquired an X number already, and there are more which are likely to come into the inventory. So they would want to know exactly the exact same things that I told you. How does the Rafale look in the air? Where do I spot it? How does it look on my radar? What distance can I pick it up? I don't think they would. I don't think they would play the electronic countermeasures or countermeasures of any one of those aircraft in such friendly exercises. So essentially, how does it perform in close combat, which gives a very good picture of the aircraft's capability. So how does it perform in close combat? These are the things that probably the Chinese aircraft, definitely the Chinese, and also, I should add that. What are the kind of maintenance practices that are followed? Are there any key choke points in that maintenance activity? Is there likelihood of that aircraft being held on the ground if, say, a system was to be disabled, and how long will it take for that aircraft to come up? So there would be people besides the pilots who would be flying or with each other in the air. There would be people on the ground from the Chinese side in the delegation who would be keenly monitoring the maintenance part of this system. What are the kind of logistics that it needs? How many times does it need to be replenished? How long can it fly without replenishment? Once replenished, can it do missions back to back, or does it need to be replenished every time? Well, those are the kind of things that they would be looking at very closely.
That's key information, sir. But when China will definitely accumulate new learnings of the Rafale in these drills, how much of this information, in your appreciation, Air Marshal Kapoor, can get relayed by China to nations that it's friendly with?
It is a given. They will pass on whatever information that they get out of this engagement with the Egyptian Air Force. Chinese have kind of had this first exposure against, like you brought out yourself, against the latest Western aircraft, I think for the first time. I don't think before this they've had exposure to exercises besides the ones that they fly with Thailand or maybe one or more country. So they would have got this information, and higher than the mountains and deeper than the seas, they have some friends. Their friendship goes beyond that, and so it would be very fair to presume that they would share this information. Absolutely, yes, they would. I mean, Pakistan extended them the same favor when American helicopter came down in the backyard of Osama bin Laden in the month of May 2010 or 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere thereabouts. So Pakistan extended that favor to them, and it could be payback time for the Chinese Air Force this time.
That's very interesting. When it comes to stealth jets, sir, China's stealth jets, they are reportedly in close proximity with India. How does the Indian security apparatus really react to this?
We are keeping a track of their movements. If you're specifically talking about the report that came in, I think last month or the month before last, wherein some of these jets were seen in large numbers at air bases which are right across. I think Hotan was one of them. So June and July, I would like to believe, June and July are the months that it is easier to kind of operate from these bases because of the altitude at which they're located, and the ease of operations because of that, because of the weather. And we just need to wait and watch whether this becomes a regular deployment, or is it just operation and operationalizing of that base during that period, which is more conducive as far as weather is concerned.
Understood. And finally, let me also get your assessment, sir, on China's stealth jet surge. Should India be worried?
Yes, we should be worried, and without a doubt we should be worried. I mean, imagine the scale at which they are producing them till about 2 or 3 years back, maybe they had just about 50, maybe going up to 100. The latest reports probably indicate that they may have touched a figure of 500, and by the production that the rate at which they are going, between 100 and 150 aircraft per year, they could very well touch about 1,000 by the year 2030, which is 5 years before we are likely to see, in case everything goes as per plan, we are likely to see a comparative aircraft in our inventory. Yes,
Air Marshal Nagesh Kapoor.
Yes, the short answer is yes.
Understood, sir. Air Marshal, absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for making time for us right here on Defence Pulse.
Thank you, Shivan. Thank you very much.
Now, in modern warfare, the first strike isn't necessarily the decisive advantage. The ability to see it coming is. From satellites hundreds of kilometers from Earth to sensors guarding India's borders and drones providing an eye over the battlefield, India is in fact building a multi-layered surveillance architecture that it has had for a long time, and now it builds it further. Let's start with space surveillance. India is expanding its military eyes in orbit. The ambitious space-based surveillance Phase 3 program envisages 52 satellites spread across different orbits to dramatically improve India's ability to monitor activity across land and sea. The objective is persistent surveillance from tracking troop movements, military infrastructure, ships, and other potential threats well beyond India's borders. On the ground, India's surveillance grid combines radars, thermal imagers, night vision equipment, cameras, sensors, and command and control networks under initiatives such as the Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System. But India's geography and treacherous border terrain and regions presents an enormous challenge. From Himalayan mountains and forests to deserts, rivers, coastlines, there can be no single surveillance solution for it all. India is in fact expanding anti-drone deployments along its borders. UAVs are increasingly providing persistent surveillance over vulnerable areas, going where fixed sensors cannot go. But drones have also become the threat. Small, low-flying UAVs can be difficult to detect, making counter-drone surveillance and interception increasingly critical. India, therefore, has many of the pieces, but the challenge is integration. And satellites, drones, radars, sensors, intelligence, all feeding information into a single real-time picture of the battlefield. Because tomorrow's military advantage may ultimately come down to just one question: who sees it coming first?
Sandeep Shah, co-founder and managing director of Optimized Electrotech, is working at the intersection of electro-optics, artificial intelligence, and advanced sensing technologies, areas that are increasingly critical to India's defense and strategic capabilities. His vision is clear: the technologies that protect India's future should be conceived, engineered, and manufactured in India. At a time when deep technology is no longer just an economic advantage but a strategic asset, Sandeep Shah is building capabilities that can contribute to India's technological sovereignty and protect its frontiers.
All right, joining me on the show now is Sandeep Shah, co-founder and managing director of Optimized Electrotech. Sandeep, pleasure having you here with me on Defence Pulse. Let's start right off. When we talk about India's multi-layered surveillance architecture, talk to us about what that really means on ground and how far is India from having an integrated system of its own. Over to you.
Thanks, Shivan. Thanks for having me here. The multi-layered surveillance architecture is something which is not new concept. It's just that we have, as a country, being dependent on various other countries to make sure that this happens. What it means is that you need to have, first of all, a satellite layer, which will be above everything else, and the LEO and the GEO satellites will be able to take care of general information that can be captured. At the borders, we have the second layer, which will make sure that you know if there is a militant that is coming in, or if there is something which is a movement which is not an approved movement. The third part is where you have to have action to be taken. Once you have known what's going on, you will need to take some action. It can be either by the infantry or by the soldier himself, or it could be by a machine, which could be a weapon mounted on the machine. And all of this also requires all of the surveillance to be done. Today, the surveillance is done at satellite, loitering, so the hail and the mail drones. And then thereafter, there are the smaller drones, and then you have coastal surveillance, and then you have border surveillance, and then you have the weapons. So that is sort of, multi-layer architecture that's out there. And we as a country are doing a fantastic and phenomenal job right now. Not only as optimized, but even otherwise. There are quite a few players that have emerged who are helping the country achieve its security and surveillance on its own.
Yeah. Sandeep, when it comes to the latest technologies, battlefield domain is one that needs constant evolution in terms of learnings from what one is learning from own operations and obviously active war zones around the world. What's the latest technology that is being developed on your front for the battlefield domain in surveillance?
So battlefield, before battlefield, you need to have sort of an information on the ground. That's number one. And thereafter, of course, the battlefield will come into picture. As optimized, we have been into AI or edge analytics-based surveillance forever. So our differentiator from the conventional technologies has been that every device and every product that we have, it has a common layer of software, which has edge analytics or a processing board on board. This allows the security forces to make sure that they are able to get the relevant data only. So instead of pushing all the data in, we are only giving relevant data. So I think this is a huge differentiator from the conventional technology that we do. It gives the bandwidth or the mental bandwidth, it keeps the mental bandwidth of the soldier free. So the decision makers that are out there, they would know exactly what to concentrate on and what to take the decision from, rather than just looking at the scene continuously. That's, I think, the number one thing that we are bringing to the table. There are, of course, other technologies. Well, this, I think, is
Sandeep, when we talk about India's borders, where surveillance is most required, these are complicated zones, these are treacherous zones in portions. Is India now capable of seeing most threats approaching its borders, or are there still significant surveillance blind spots in your appreciation?
Some of these things are strategic information.
Understood.
I believe that the defense forces are more capable to decide on how much they would want to disclose. But what I would say is that to a very large extent, in the last few years, the government has come out with something called a positive indigenization list. This positive list is a list of products that they would want now Indian companies to take over instead of being reliant on foreign players. And within this, they have included long-range observation systems, which is called, it used to be called LOROS, it's called ILROS now. There are also other shorter or moderate range observation devices. There are night vision cameras. All of this is now part of the positive list of indigenization. And there are various people who are working towards it. So while today we are there or not, Optimized's own products are already present at Indian Navy's places where we are supporting them on coastal surveillance. We're supporting Indian Army at border surveillance. We're supporting certain police forces, including Gujarat, which is on the western neighbor side, again for monitoring purposes. So all of this is something that we are doing. Similarly, the Army and Navy and the Coast Guard, everybody is making all of these robust infrastructure to make sure that there is no porous point left. I think we are probably 4 to 5 years away from ensuring that 100% coverage is there, but still have a good amount of work done.
But clearly, there is thrust from India, and surveillance remains the first arm that needs to be strengthened. It can't be strong enough. It always needs to continuously be strengthened further. Sandeep Shah, absolute pleasure speaking with you. We look forward to discussing with you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And viewers, with that, we call it a wrap on this edition of Defence Pulse. Join me at 7 p.m. IST tomorrow.